Chapter 16, The Cauldron. There was a gloomy silence while they tried to think what would be the best thing to do. Rosemary was the first to speak. "Well, I think," she began, but she never said what she thought, because it was then it happened. Shopping ladies with parcels were beginning to come in for an early tea, and the chinced, overalled waitress was hurrying past their table with a tray laden with tea things, when she caught her foot against the broom, tottered for one horrifying moment, and then fell with a crash. The shopping ladies stopped talking and turned round. John and Rosemary jumped up and helped her to her feet. Rosemary began to pick up the broken china and tried to rescue the cakes and buttered toast that were lying forlornly in a lake of tea. They could hardly put them back on the plates, could they? "I'm so awfully sorry," said Rosemary in distress. "I do hope you didn't hurt yourself. Do sit down for a minute." "We'll clear it all up," said John. "I'm afraid it was our fault." "I should think it was," said the waitress crossly, "and I don't know what Maggie will say to all this broken china. Why couldn't you put your walking stick in the umbrella stand by the door?" She rubbed her bruised shin as she spoke. "Look," Rosemary whispered to John. "Look over there." John turned and stared in the same direction as Rosemary. Peering anxiously round the door that led to the kitchen was a plump elderly woman with hair plaited in two buns, one over each ear. She was wearing an apron, but under it was an obviously hand-woven jacket. "Are you all right, Florrie?" she said anxiously, and then she saw the mess on the floor and gave a moan. "Oh, the china, Florrie, how could you?" By this time the broken tea things had been collected on the tray. "Please sit down, ladies," she went on. "I'll bring you more tea in a minute. Florrie, you better get a cloth." "Let me get it, because it was our fault," said Rosemary. "Don't do that," she said to John, who dug her rather hard in the ribs. But all that John said was, "Look at Carbonel." The black cat was standing near the door that led to the street, his tail straight up in the air and his back arched, kneading the matting with his front paws and making strange crooning noises in his throat. "What's the matter with him?" asked Rosemary anxiously, but John was staring fixedly as Carbonel. "Over there in the corner, the umbrella stand." In the corner by the door, holding two umbrellas and a walking stick, was a fat black pot with 3 legs and a handle over the top. "It's the witch's cauldron, isn't it?" breathed Rosemary. The cat was quiet now. He turned and stalked towards them with his head held high. "Of course it is. I'd know it anywhere. He even got up like that." Its well-rounded sides gleamed with black lead, and the copper band round it had been polished till it glowed. "Besides," he went on, "there's the patch in the bottom where it began to leak. Well, what are we waiting for? You'd better pick it up and get out while this to-do is going on." Rosemary was shocked. "We can't just take it. That would be stealing. We must think of a plan for getting it honestly somehow. But first we must help clear up. You collect the buttered toast that's skidded over there, and I'll go and fetch another cloth." She hurried through the door into the kitchen. The waitress passed her, coming out with a dustpan and brush, and only the one she had referred to as Maggie was there. She looked up as Rosemary came in. "Go away, little girl, as if you hadn't done enough damage for today." "I know," said Rosemary penitently. "It's because I'm so sorry about it. I thought I'd come and get a cloth and help to clear up. I'll polish the floor again when it's dry, if you'll let me." "It's not the floor that matters, it's the china." There was a quiver in the woman's voice, and to Rosemary's horror her round face suddenly crumpled and she began to cry. "Oh, don't," said Rosemary. "Don't cry, please. Whatever is the matter, do tell me, and then I'm sure it'll make you feel better. I've got a clean hanky somewhere, I know I have." The woman didn't take the handkerchief, but she stopped crying and wiped her eyes with her own. "It's the china," she said jerkily as she dabbed at her face. "The girls we've hired to wash up broke so much we decided to try and manage without them. And besides that, we couldn't really afford to go on paying their wages. Business has been so bad lately. Florrie and I are on our feet all day, but it's no use. And because there were only 2 of us, we needed so much more china because the washing up was slower." "Why don't you buy some more?" asked Rosemary. "Because we haven't enough money, and neither of the china shops will give us any more credit. I don't know why I'm telling you all this." She gave a watery smile and dabbed at her face again with her handkerchief. "There's a big Women's Institute rally this afternoon at the Temperance Hall, and I'd hoped for quite a lot of customers. The cakes are made all ready, but what's the use of customers if we haven't enough china for them to eat off? Mrs. Maggie sniffed ominously again. I see, said Rosemary slowly. You mean that if you had more china, quite a lot of it, you'd earn a great deal of money this afternoon? Oh, I'd give anything for some more china. You see, that's not all. Oh, dear. Is there some more? Miss Maggie nodded. This afternoon my brother was coming to see how we're getting on. He put up the money for the tea shop in the first place, and if he sees that we're busy, he'll probably help us out a bit. But if he thinks it's being a failure, he'll say it's throwing good money after bad. Oh, well, she went on, it's no use bothering you with our troubles. And she turned heavily to the sink, looking so dejected that Rosemary said, Oh, please cheer up. I might be able to help. About the china, I mean, but I must talk to my friends first. She ran out of the kitchen to find John waiting impatiently for her. What have you been doing all this time? He asked crossly. Hush, I'll tell you. Come outside, quickly. They hurried out and turned down a little passage that ran down the side of the shop. Carbonel, said Rosemary, now we've got the cauldron, can it do some magic? Grant wishes and things? Carbonel considered. It's a bit irregular. You don't look to the sinister You don't belong to the sinister sisterhood. But the cauldron might do it to oblige me. But what for? Rosemary told them about the Women's Institute rally, and the broken china, and the brother who was not going to throw good money after bad, and then she added, and Miss Maggie said she'd give everything she'd got if she had enough china for this afternoon. So you see, if we could help, I believe she'd let us have the cauldron. Carbonel trotted off without a word, and you'll find out tomorrow what he's gone to do.